particular domestic abuser had a personal relationship with the president, Mr. Blanche's staff asked me to set aside my concerns. When I wouldn't, Mr. Blanche fired me within hours. He then took extraordinary measures to silence me. He sent U.S. Marshals to my home in an effort to prevent me from speaking with members of Congress.
You just heard a former Justice Department attorney say Todd Blanche sent armed U.S. Marshals to her home to stop her from talking to Congress. Her name is Liz Oyer, and she used to work for him. But hold on, this is only the tip of a much bigger problem. She says everything Blanche told this committee about firing her is provably false. Not exaggerated, not one-sided, provably false in her words, under oath. And she didn't stop there. She says there are over 700 documented instances of Blanche's Justice Department violating judicial orders. Nearly 100 cases where judges from both parties caught the department lying in court. And by the time she finished, she had laid out something even more explosive. A story about Jeffrey Epstein's convicted partner that no one on cable news connected to Blanche directly. Is the man asking to lead the Justice Department already the reason courts don't trust it? Stay tuned, because what she reveals next will leave you speechless.
To uphold the law and tell the truth. There are over 700 documented instances of DOJ violating judicial orders. There are nearly 100 cases in which judges appointed by both parties have found that DOJ presented false or misleading information in court. Earlier this week, a federal judge found that Mr. Blanche personally misled this Congress about the department's settlement agreement with President Trump. To the American public, it looks like Mr. Blanche is running DOJ as Donald Trump's personal law firm. He is using law enforcement powers to pursue petty grudges harbored by the president. These pointless vendettas are wasting our scarce resources and destroying DOJ's credibility. Mr. Blanche has repeatedly placed President Trump's interests ahead of
Liz Oyer isn't a disgruntled outsider. She was the Justice Department's own pardon attorney, the official responsible for reviewing clemency requests until Blanche fired her himself. Think about what it means that the person he fired is the one now testifying under oath that his own account of that firing doesn't hold up. Here's what the clip doesn't spell out. Oyer says she raised concerns about a specific case involving someone with a personal relationship to the president, and that Blanche's staff asked her to set those concerns aside. When she refused, she says she was fired within hours. Then federal marshals were sent to her home, not to protect her, but to physically stop documents and communication from reaching members of Congress. To be fair, Blanche gave his own account to this committee the day before and disputes her version. But Oyer says the record itself, documents and evidence, contradicts what he told senators under oath, and she wasn't done yet. What she said next connected two stories that nobody else had tied together.
President Trump's interests ahead of the interests of the country. The collusive settlement agreement is a perfect example. It protects the entire Trump family and all of their businesses from any investigation or audit forever. It gives away nearly $2 billion of our money for no reason at all. It is a windfall for the president and his allies at the expense of the American people. A court found that signing this agreement was a betrayal of Mr. Blanche's duty to zealously represent the interests of the United States. That is the most basic obligation of the Attorney General. Mr. Blanche said yesterday that the settlement fund is dead. It is not. That is Contract Law 101. Mr. Trump or his sons could seek to enforce it at any time. Mr. Blanche gave bizarre excuses for not meeting with Jeffrey Epstein's victims. Yet he spent 2 days personally eliciting testimony from Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's partner in crime. After this imprisoned sex trafficker made statements claiming to exonerate the president, she was moved to a minimum security camp. That is a grievous breach of DOJ policy. It is an abuse of Mr. Blanche's office. It is a terrible betrayal of Epstein and Maxwell's victims. Mr. Blanche's callous approach to the Epstein case matches his cavalier attitude toward rearming domestic abusers. At the end of the day, the priority of this DOJ is protecting powerful men, even when it comes at the expense of vulnerable women. What Mr. Blanche is doing is dangerous. Earlier this week, 2 Supreme Court justices sat here and testified about the terrifying threats that judges are facing in this country. Meanwhile, Mr. Blanche is fueling those threats by attacking judges who rule against the administration and declaring a war against the courts. These are not partisan concerns. Americans across the political spectrum rely on DOJ to keep us safe and free. Mr. Blanche has shown that he is willing to put all of that at risk to serve a political agenda. I beg the members of this committee to think about what this is costing our country. Please do not degrade our justice system further by promoting Mr. Blanche. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Oyer. Now, Mr. Adler.
Good morning, Chairman Grassley, Ranking Member Durbin, and distinguished members of the Senate Judiciary Committee. My name is John Adler, and I appear before you today in my personal capacity to provide
700 violations, nearly 100 cases of misleading courts, judges from both parties, and a federal judge who found Blanche personally misled Congress the week before he came here to ask for a promotion. Here's the background the clip doesn't give you. That federal judge is Kathleen Williams. On July 13th, 2 days before this hearing, she voided the exact settlement Oyer described, the one shielding the Trump family from $650 million in tax penalties. In her ruling, she said Blanche's Justice Department had contrived what looked like a manufactured lawsuit and dressed it up as a legitimate settlement. She referred him for formal disciplinary sanctions. And that same day, the New York City Bar Association sent its own letter to this committee opposing his confirmation, citing 5 separate instances where they say he violated his oath. 101 former judges filed a separate complaint asking the state to investigate him. But Oyer still wasn't finished. She then said something about Jeffrey Epstein's most notorious partner in crime that should have made every headline in the country, and didn't.
We are not activists. We are crime victims. For us, this has never been about politics. It has been about getting justice for the crimes committed against us. And the redactions are not the only problem with Todd Blanche's nomination. Todd Blanche has never attempted to listen to us, the crime victims. Survivors in this room repeatedly asked to meet with Todd Blanche through multiple channels. He never responded. Yesterday, he said he would meet with us, with our attorneys, if they were present. But let's be clear, that was the first time that was ever communicated to us before yesterday. He simply ignored us for the last 8 months. He's been radio silent, and the silence was deafening. Crime victims deserve better from the nation's highest level of law enforcement officials. We deserve to be heard directly, not dismissed and ignored. There are numerous investigative leads that must be followed, despite Mr. Blanche's claim that there are none. Epstein and Maxwell did not abuse women and children alone. They did not build their operation alone. Others enabled these crimes, exploited victims, and avoided accountability for decades. You do not have to take my word for it. Several weeks ago, after examining the evidence, Chairman James Comer directed Todd Blanche to open investigations into 2 men connected to Epstein. The Epstein files are not merely a collection of embarrassing names and politically damaging associations. They are records connected to the sexual exploitation and trafficking of girls and young women. They contain information about how Epstein's network worked, who assisted him, and whether additional crimes can still be investigated. The Department of Justice should pursue every credible lead, not just work tirelessly, not just to shut down the investigations. The survivors in this room know there are investigative leads because they are our stories. Mr. Blanche knows it too, yet he has chosen not to pursue them. Mr. Blanche's actions have destroyed survivors' trust. According to public reporting, Mr. Blanche spent approximately 9 hours meeting with Ghislaine Maxwell. He did not even spend 9 minutes meeting with the survivor. Afterward, Maxwell was transferred to what many have described as a summer camp prison.
9 hours with Ghislaine Maxwell. Not even 9 minutes with the survivors. That's not speculation. That's what Danny Bensky, an Epstein survivor, said under oath at this same hearing. She says Blanche ignored every message from the victims for 8 months. Radio silent, in her words, while finding time to personally spend 9 hours with their convicted trafficker. And after those 9 hours, Maxwell was moved to what Bensky called a summer camp prison. The survivors found out through the news. No call, no explanation, no transparency. Here's the hard math. The Senate Judiciary Committee vote is set for July 30th. Every Democrat is expected to vote no. Republicans hold the committee by 1 seat. The seat left empty when Lindsey Graham died. 1 Republican no vote, and this nomination never reaches the Senate floor at all. And by that same date, New York's Attorney Grievance Committee may also have moved on the bar complaint filed by 101 former judges. If New York acts, Blanche wouldn't just lose this nomination. He'd lose the ability to practice law anywhere in the country and become only the second sitting U.S. Attorney General in history to be disbarred. Step back and look at the full picture. A woman he fired says he lied to Congress about why he fired her. She says his department violated judicial orders 700 times. She says he interviewed a convicted sex trafficker personally, then watched her get transferred to a softer prison. A federal judge referred him for disciplinary sanctions. And his own bar association says he's already violated his oath 5 times over. So we'll ask you directly. Do you believe an attorney general should be confirmed while survivors, senators, judges, and his own bar association are all telling the Senate the same thing? Not yet? Drop your take in the comments. Hit subscribe if you want us tracking what happens when this committee votes on July 30th, because by then we may also know whether Todd Blanche keeps his law license at all, because this story is far from over.